So I graduated 6 months ago and have been living at home with my parents to save money. I bring home $2,400 a month after taxes and put half of everything into savings each month. My parents, thankfully, don't ask me for rent as they understand how crucial it is for me to save money and eventually move out. But ever since I got my first job, my older sister, Belinda, has been randomly asking me to save money for my niece's birthday. I was a bit confused and asked her why she kept saying this to me. Hearing this, my sister laughed it off, and I didn't think much about it. 2 months ago, my sister called me out of the blue. She sounded really upset, and I asked her, worried about what happened. This is how our conversation went. Belinda: "Hey, could you transfer me $200? I need it urgently to buy new sneakers for Gina, who is my niece." Me? $200? That's a lot to spend on a sneaker. Does Gina really need such an expensive shoe to wear? Belinda: "Well, if my child wants something, she gets it, and I don't want to deny her anything." Me: "Okay, if you say so." BTW: "When will you be paying me back?" Belinda: "What do you mean by pay you back? You are earning money, so why should I pay you back?" Me: "I am earning, but that doesn't mean I can afford to waste $200 for a sneaker out of my savings account. I need to save money so I can move out." Belinda: "Don't be selfish. Just transfer me the money and then we can talk." She then cut the call. I begrudgingly transferred the $200 to her, thinking that she would eventually pay me back once she got her salary next week. I also informed my parents that she has been asking me for money, and my mother told me that I should know how hard she works as a single mother, so I should sometimes help her out. This really pissed me off, but I kept my mouth shut. For context, this isn't the first time my mother has completely ignored me and supported my sister. My parents and I have always had a somewhat strained relationship when it comes to my sister. They absolutely adore her and are blind to everything she does. Belinda always took advantage of that and would make sure that she got her way while we were growing up. When my sister was only 17 years old and I was 14 years old, she got pregnant by her then college boyfriend, Van. My parents were quite alarmed but decided to support her through the pregnancy. Unfortunately, Van didn't want to be a father, so he gave up his full parental rights and has continued to pay child support every month without fail. When Gina was born, I could see that my sister didn't like being a mother very much. She never held Gina much and would try to pass her off to either my parents or me. I supported my sister and loved her, hence I would notch it up to her being a first-time mother. Initially, I used to help her out sometimes whenever I could, but Belinda started to take advantage of that and started to leave Gina behind at home with me for longer hours while she would go out and party the whole night. This meant that I would have to stay awake and look after the kid, which would then affect my sleep schedule the next day. As I was still a student, I needed plenty of sleep to go to school and complete my assignments, but Belinda would force me to take care of Gina, and if I refused, she would try to justify her actions, saying that she wanted to have a life outside her kid and wanted to spend time with her friends. I then decided to complain to my mom regarding this, but my mom told me that it wasn't a big deal. All I had to do was wake up and feed the baby at night if it cried, otherwise the rest of the time the baby would be sleeping anyway, which meant it wasn't a lot of work. As you can imagine, that wasn't the case all the time. Sometimes my niece would cry through the night, even after being fed, and I would then have to go and wake up my mother, who would begrudgingly get up to nurse the baby. This went on for a while, and I knew my studies were being affected by this. One day, after I was unable to submit several assignments for school, my parents were called to meet my teacher. My teacher asked me in front of them if something was going on at home, as I had always been a model student, but it had been days since I was able to submit any assignments. He went on to tell me firmly that this would affect my year-end grades. Hearing this, I burst out crying. My parents looked really concerned, and my teacher encouraged me to open up. This is when I told about my older sister forcing me to babysit her kid all night, which has been making me unable to complete my assignments on time. I went on to tell how I had been so exhausted and didn't know what to do. My teacher looked at my parents, who looked absolutely embarrassed. My teacher asked them what was going on at home. This is when my mother revealed that my older sister had given birth a few months ago, hence I was sometimes asked to take care of the baby, which wasn't a big deal. My mother then started to admonish me for even bringing this up, and telling me that I was just making up excuses when it was my fault that I was lagging in class. I kept crying, and I guess my teacher must have noticed that I was speaking the truth. He firmly told my parents that I was just a 14-year-old kid, and I should not be asked to look after another kid. He then went on to say that a stable home was required for a child to flourish, and in the past I had always submitted all my assignments in the past on time without fail, so they should take my complaint seriously. He then told my parents that although he couldn't interfere with what we had going on at home, he would be more than happy to report what I had told him to the principal and CPS. Hearing this, my parents must have been terrified. My dad immediately replied that there was no need for that and that he would personally make sure that this wouldn't affect my studies further. My teacher nodded and told me that he would give me some extra time to catch up on my assignments. After that incident, my parents had a talk with Belinda, who obviously argued with them, but since that day, she never asked me to babysit her kid. I eventually went off to college where I had even more freedom. Whenever I would call Belinda, she would spend all the time complaining about the woes of being a mother and how difficult it was to manage a child. I would listen to her patiently complain. Eventually, over the years, she moved out of my parents' place into a rented apartment. She would sometimes call my parents for financial help here and there, but for the most part, she would try to manage on her own. Until I got my job and moved back home. She then decided to mooch off me and never paid me back. Belinda would shamelessly ask me for money to get her water pipe fixed at home or to cover her rent, but I would vehemently refuse to pay her as she never paid me back the $200. She would then call my mother crying to complain about how selfish I was. My mother, in turn, would barge into my room to tell me that I was single, hence I could afford to help my sister out, so I should help my sister and niece out. Over the past month, I have sent her over an additional $150 whenever she wanted anything. Last week, my niece called to talk to me. I was pleasantly surprised that she had called me, and we were having a good chat. Gina then mentioned her birthday and told me how Belinda had told her that she could ask me for anything. I froze hearing this, as I was shocked that Belinda dared to tell my niece something like this. Gina then told me that she wanted a paid vacation to Disney. My mouth hung open upon hearing her words. I half expected her to ask me for a gift like a new bicycle or a skateboard, which, although would have been expensive, I could have somehow managed to get her one, but a paid vacation to Disney? Now this was impossible. I started laughing in shock, and Gina went quiet in the other line. I told Gina that I didn't want to hurt her feelings by saying this, but that there was no way I could fulfill her wish. Gina asked me why, and I told her that I didn't have the money to do that. Hearing this, Gina started crying loudly, and I could hear her stomping her feet in anger. She started telling me that I had to give her the gift or I shouldn't go to her birthday party. My sister, who probably heard Gina's cries, came running and asked her what was wrong. Gina started to tell her how I had refused to give her what she wanted for her birthday. My sister snatched the phone from her hand and asked me why I couldn't do what Gina wanted. I told her that Gina had asked me for a paid vacation to Disney. Belinda said she already knew that and asked me why I couldn't give her that. My eyes widened in shock. I asked her how she could expect me to give such an expensive gift to Gina, and Belinda scoffed in response. She told me that if I really loved my niece, I could sacrifice a month's salary and pay for her and Gina's ticket to Disney so they could have a good time. She continued to tell me how happy Gina would be and that as an aunt it is my duty to do these things. I told her that I had paid her approx $350 until now, so there was no chance that I was going to sacrifice my monthly salary for her. Belinda started to raise her voice, telling me that if I didn't give what Gina wanted, then I was going to break my niece's heart, as she had been looking forward to visiting Disney. When I kept saying no, Belinda angrily told me that if I didn't bring Gina Disney tickets then, there was no need for me to come to her birthday party then, and cut the call. After our talk, as expected, my mother came to talk to me, telling me that Belinda had talked with her. She told me that she was letting me leave rent-free so I could save money, but I shouldn't be this stingy when it comes to my niece and my sister. She told me how I could buy those tickets to make them happy, and that Gina would always remember my sweet gesture. I told my mother that I was working so hard so I could move out and live on my own. I never partied or spent my money recklessly, so I couldn't afford to spend money out of my savings for such an expensive gift. My mother admonished me that family should come above everything, and I shouldn't worry about how expensive the gift was. I then told her if that was the case, then she could give Gina what she wanted, because at the end of the day, Gina wouldn't care about who gifted her Disney tickets as long as she went to Disney. My mother then argued that I knew my parents couldn't afford to do that, so it was distasteful of me to even ask her to do such a thing. We kept arguing further and left things at an impasse. I guess my mother would have thought I would eventually give in and buy my niece what she wanted, but I never did. On the day of my niece's birthday, I decided to go, even though my sister had warned me not to come without her gift, because I wanted to be there for my niece on such a special occasion. I had bought her favorite dress, which I knew she had in her Amazon wish list for a long time, and hoped that this would be enough for her. When I reached the venue after work that day, Gina ran up to greet me. I warmly hugged her, as it had been a while since I had met her. Belinda smiled at me, acknowledging my presence, and then we all joined the rest of the party. My parents had already arrived before me and were busy talking to my grandparents. After we had lunch, it was time to cut the cake for Gina. We all sang happy birthday to her as she excitedly looked around the room. Then it was time for her to open her presents. One by one, she opened all the gifts happily until she reached mine. She saw it was a big box and her face fell. She opened it to see that I had bought her the dress she had wanted to buy for several months. She stared at the dress and then rummaged around the box curiously. She asked me, "Where are the tickets? I don't see them here. Do you have them with you?" I froze, hearing her say this, as I thought she would be happy with the dress and not keep asking me for the tickets. Belinda turned to me in front of all the guests and asked me where I kept the Disneyland ticket. I took a deep breath and announced that I had decided to give Gina the dress that she had kept on her wish list, as I couldn't afford to gift her tickets to Disneyland. Hearing this, all hell broke loose. Gina burst out crying, telling me that she really wanted me to give her Disneyland tickets instead of this stupid dress. She then took the dress and threw it at my feet angrily. Everyone in the room gasped. I was shocked by her behavior. Belinda then started to admonish me by saying that I had failed as aunt, and that if I didn't love Gina enough to give her what she wanted, then I should leave the party immediately. She told me how I had spoiled her kid's day by showing my face without what she wanted, and this was all my fault. I had taken it all in until then, and decided to finally speak up. I told her that I had done my best to get her something she wanted, and I couldn't afford to buy Disneyland tickets. I explained that I was working hard to save money and that I had my own plans for the future. Belinda, however, wasn't having any of it. Her face reddened with anger and she raised her voice, drawing more attention to the spectacle. "You're being selfish. Family should always come first. If you really cared about Gina, you would have made sure she got what she wanted," she insisted, the accusation cutting deep. I took a deep breath, trying to choose my words carefully in the face of the mounting tension, and turned to talk to Gina directly. "Gina, sweetheart, I got you this dress because I thought it was something you really wanted. I am sorry I couldn't afford the Disneyland tickets, but I wanted to get you a gift that I knew you would love," I explained, my voice steady but edged with frustration. Gina's cries grew louder. "You should have made an effort. You work, don't you? What's the point of having a job if you can't even make your niece happy?" Belinda started to scold me, her voice piercing through the room. "I have been helping you and Gina out for these past few months, but I can't sacrifice an entire month's salary for Disneyland tickets. I have my own plans and dreams, and I can't keep putting them on hold for every demand," I retorted, feeling the weight of years of pent-up frustration. Belinda's face reddened with anger, and she raised her voice, drawing more attention to the spectacle. "You're being selfish. Family should always come first. If you really cared about Gina, you would have made sure she got what she wanted," she insisted, the accusation cutting deep. My parents, instead of supporting me, looked disappointedly at me and refused to say anything. My mother chimed in, telling me that I should learn to prioritize family over my personal goals, and no wonder I was always this selfish. I felt frustrated and misunderstood. As the argument escalated, I decided I had had enough. I calmly told Gina that I was sorry for making her cry on her birthday, and that I would be leaving. I picked up the rejected dress and left the party, feeling a strange mix of liberation and sadness. Since the incident, I have started to realize how toxic and messed up my family is. I have been used and manipulated for years, and this incident has been the breaking point. I don't talk to my parents anymore and step out of my room only when I have to go to work. The rest of the time I spend cooped up in my room, as I don't want to face them and hear their accusations anymore. My thoughts are spiraling, and I want to know if I am indeed the a-hole for not buying my niece an expensive gift. Update 1. Thank you all for your comments. As most of you have suggested, I do plan on moving out very soon. The reason I moved in with my parents is because I wanted to save money and be able to live independently in an apartment, but with the way things are going, I would rather live with a roommate than stay at my parents' place. My mental health is being affected by being around my toxic family members, and it would be a good idea for me to move out as soon as I can. I will start looking for any accommodation available at the earliest. Update 2. It's been a month since my last update. A lot of things have happened in my life until now. First of all, Belinda came over one evening to my parents' place soon after my niece's party to talk to me. Belinda, being Belinda, never even once apologized. Instead, she said how other guests who had been in the party had asked her to let this issue go, so she had come to me so we could straighten it out. I kept my mouth shut while she continued, saying how, as my older sister, she is going to forgive me for being this way, and that I will never understand the sacrifice it takes to be a mother until I have a child on my own. She then continued, saying that Gina was very upset about what I did, but now has calmed down a bit. I nodded, hearing that, as I knew deep down that my niece would have never behaved in this childish and entitled way had my sister been a better parent to her over the years. Then Belinda continued to say how I should give her the dress that I had brought for Gina so that she could wear it for an upcoming party with her friends. I asked Belinda what she was talking about, and she told me that the dress that Gina had thrown at my feet and had refused to accept on her birthday previously, she wanted that back now. I burst out laughing, hearing this. Belinda looked at me, unnerved, and asked me why I was laughing. I looked at her squarely and told her, "Belinda, you are your child. Have some nerve coming to me to ask for the dress that you both threw at my feet in front of everyone. Now suddenly you want it back? Oh, it doesn't work that way. I have returned the dress, obviously, so you can tell Gina the next time someone gives her a gift she should gracefully accept it, instead of throwing a tantrum." Hearing this, Belinda started shouting how cruel I was to return the dress for Gina, and that the dress was beautiful and would have been perfect for her daughter to wear in the upcoming event. I told her she was free to buy the dress and I would be happy to send her the link. But Belinda started saying that she was ready to forgive me completely if I bought the dress again for Gina. I laughed at her face again because her sheer entitlement was getting to me now. Belinda got red in the face and started threatening that if I didn't give Gina the dress, then she would make sure that I would never be able to talk to my niece ever again. I told Belinda, "You know what, let me make it easier for you. I no longer want to talk to you or Gina. I am done with both of you. Do not contact me again for money or any more presents." Hearing this, Belinda started yelling again that I was being too rude and selfish over a simple thing. She told me to get over myself and just buy the dress again so things could go back to normal. I asked her to get out of my room and close the door on her face. She kept banging and yelling, but I put my noise cancellation headphones on with some music so I couldn't hear any more bullshit that she had to say. Soon after this, my friend informed me that a mutual friend of hers was looking for a roommate, and I immediately jumped at the opportunity. I have since moved into this new place. The room isn't that big, but at least I never have to worry about my sister barging in anymore. I haven't given any of my family members my address, so I know they can't contact me anymore. I have also blocked my parents and sister so that I can live peacefully away from them. Update 3. Hey guys, it's been 6 months since my last update. I hope you all remember me, and for those who have kept up with my journey, I would like to personally thank you. It's taken me a long time to update, as I wanted to leave my old life behind and not talk about it so I could move on from the trauma. Now, coming on to the update. I have moved into a much better rented apartment with a slightly bigger room but an amazing view from my balcony. I love my new home and have put plants all over the place, which makes me so happy to see them first thing in the morning when I wake up. My family hasn't been in the picture all this while. They did try to contact my friends to get a hold of me, but thankfully my friends never gave them my address. I have remained in touch with my grandparents, who have always loved me and supported me, so they do sometimes give me a few updates regarding my family. It is through them that I have found out that Belinda had been using me as a cash cow, and my parents supported that because they were sick of lending her money over the years. My parents had been giving her money through their retirement fund and were afraid that they would lose everything, so when I came into the picture, they encouraged Belinda to ask me for money instead. It's sad that my parents and sister treated me like a doormat. I am glad that I posted on Reddit so I could see what a pushover I was and ultimately left the situation. Since I left, Belinda has continued to ask my parents for money, and they have no other choice but to pay up. I chuckle thinking about this because they honestly deserve this. The only thing I am sad about from this entire situation is that I have lost all contact with Gina. I have watched her grow up ever since she was a baby and taken care of her, yet because of how Belinda is, Gina sadly has turned out to be extremely immature. I hope one day when Gina is older and wiser we can reconnect again. As for me, my life is going okay. I work hard at my job and I can save a lot of money. I am able to buy small things for myself that give me joy, and I no longer have to be worried about buying expensive stuff for anyone.